Lou here. For those new to this video, I did a video previously on discontinued Vocaloids. However, since that video, plenty of people in the comments section, as well as just general Vocaloid news, had shared that more Vocaloids were discontinued than I thought. So, this is more discontinued Vocaloids. For those new here, this is a video on discontinued Vocaloid voice banks. This means these are voice banks no longer being sold for reasons I'll be explaining in this video. Alright, let's begin. Gallico. Gallico is a voice bank developed by Internet Co. for Yamaha in a collaboration with Stardust Music. Although an updated version of her voice bank called Gallico Neo is available for purchase, the original version of her basic voice bank, later called Red in her Neo release, is discontinued. You see, Gallico was a prize given to those who won a contest held for the Vocaloid shop. Winners would receive Gallico, but I guess the demand for her, especially with such a cute design to her, made Yamaha and Internet Co. create a proper voice bank for her in the form of Gallico Neo. However, there are apparently subtle differences between the original release and her Red voice bank, much like Rin Act 1 from my previous video. There is a sort of choppiness to Gallico's prize release, and while I'm not a fan of choppy vocals myself, I know that some producers do prefer it. I don't know if it's just me, but when I heard the only available audio for her prize version of Gallico, she honestly sounds like she mumbles a bit more compared to her Red version. Might just be me though, because more recent Gallico songs prefer to cross-synthesize her Red and Blue voice banks to make Purple. To sound more like her voice provider, which is pretty neat. While Gallico's prize version technically isn't anything special, hence why I started it here, a lot of people did love the design for the prize version. There was also an MMD model created by LITTY, so I guess that's also technically lost media. Okay, I'm recording this off script because I had just found out about this later in the day after I had just recorded this whole video. But Gallico had a talk voice bank that came for free with her V3 voice bank. It's a text-to-speech one, and Yamaha has announced today that her text-to-speech voice bank will officially be discontinued, which is a slight cause of concern, at least to me, because if they're getting rid of one thing for Gallico, you know, they could get rid of her voice bank in the future. I just wanted to put it here just in case it turns out later down the line when this video comes out that Gallico ends up being discontinued as well. Overall, while Gallico's Red and Blue voice banks are available for purchase on Yamaha's product page, her original Vocaloid 3 prize voice bank is not only completely lost, but also discontinued for obvious reasons. Xinhua V3. Chinese Vocaloids are always a wacky thing in the community because of how fucking confusing they are to purchase sometimes, as well as just the obscurity of it, which is wild to me because Luo Tianyi is massively popular in China and was even featured in a Chinese promotional video for Genshin Impact. However, we're talking about Xinhua. I apologize, by the way, for my awful Mandarin pronunciation. Not my strong suit, but hopefully Google Translate doesn't betray me on this one. Xinhua was created by Gynoid in 2015, which is the same company behind V-Flower, Hime, and Mikoto Meika. This was particularly in collaboration with Fashio as the distributor through the website Taobao. I'll explain more about Taobao later in the video because it'll actually be important to the reason one of the Vocaloids in this video was discontinued. Now, Xinhua was also stuck to Taiwan as well, meaning she was kind of a bitch to obtain for people outside of Taiwan to purchase due to the usual bullshit of ordering outside of other countries. This also didn't really help her sales, as Taiwanese Vocaloid fans didn't really like the Taiwanese regional accent and instead thought she sounded like she was from mainland China, which, like, I'm not from either country, so it's hard for me to notice an accent with Xinhua's Mandarin. Things would then end with Fashio and Gynoid, where they then made a contract with Shanghai Wangsheng, another distributor, to make it easier for those to purchase Xinhua as well as just, you know, they gotta sell her. though they updated her to a V4 voice bank as well as giving her a Japanese voice bank with 2 vocal ranges, which was pretty shocking to those who found Xinhua to be pretty low in popularity. They also made a redesign for Xinhua's Mandarin voice bank and a recolor for her new Japanese voice bank. Honestly, while I like her V4 Mandarin design, I fucking hate the puke green PS3 gritty war game colors of her V4 voice bank, so I pretend it doesn't exist and use her Mandarin design instead because it's actually really pretty. This means her V3 voice bank though was discontinued, and instead only her V4 update is available for purchase. Because I only have Xinhua's Japanese voice banks, I had to rely on the Vocaloid wiki for comparison of what the difference is between her V3 and V4. But if you ask me, I can't see why anyone would be kinda bummed out about Xinhua's V3 voice bank being discontinued, besides the design. Her voice sounds a little more mumbled, and her Mandarin doesn't sound quite as clear to me, while her V4 sounds much clearer and easier to understand. Again, I'm not knowledgeable in Mandarin, so I'll just let anyone in the comments section who speaks it to be the judge of this one. Overall, while Xinhua is still available through the Vocaloid product page, her V3 voice bank is pretty much next to impossible to legally obtain due to her old distribution method, which sucks. Siu. Siu is actually the first ever Korean voice bank and would be for quite a long time until the release of Uni. If you're wondering why she's named Siu of all things instead of a more traditional Korean name, the director of her development said he was inspired by the movie Avatar by James Cameron. I legit haven't seen the movie since it released all the way back in 2009, but something about I see you was a way of saying I love you for the cat blue intergalactic Smurf people. Cute, I guess, but really weird and I don't get it. Now, Siu was originally very well liked for a hot minute within the Vocaloid community thanks to her demo song I Fantasy, which is an absolute bop, as well as the song Hide and Seek by Hoong-gi, which I'm sure everyone and their mother has heard thanks to Liz Robinette's cover of it. Though this popularity was in the Western fanbase, and Siu has been an extremely mixed and often disliked voice bank by both Korean and Japanese producers. Basically, it's largely due to political and race issues regarding Japan and South Korea, but Japanese producers didn't like her Japanese voice bank because she sounded too Korean, while Korean producers didn't like that she had a Japanese voice bank. Honestly, probably explains why Uni never received a Japanese voice bank. The other issue with Siu is that 4 years after her release, Siu's voice provider was sentenced on 2 counts of blackmail and thus served jail time for 2 years. This kind of turns Siu into one big meme in the community because of the absurdity, and this is the origin behind the Siu went to prison memes you'll see floating around in the Twitter Vocaloid community. Her group Glam was then disbanded, and after she was released from prison, she was then blacklisted by the idol community, I guess, and became a Twitch streamer who does mukbangs and dances, but does compilations or whatever you see on her YouTube channel. I gotta admit, it's weird hearing her voice because when she does certain inflections, it's literally Siu. Gotta love when the Vocaloid can sound exactly like their voice provider. Anyway, this caused a massive decline in Siu's already poor sales. At least in South Korea and Japan, she was tanking pretty hard. However, she was pretty well liked in the Western fandom and so remained a staple for quite a few years on Yamaha's product page, which is where I had gotten my Siu. However, quite a few years ago, Siu's digital releases were discontinued by her company and Yamaha, so she was relegated to some kind of physical edition. Despite SBS AT&T trying to keep Siu afloat, they handed her and Uni's license over to Starlike Inc. For well over a year now, Siu's physical releases ceased their distribution. Many believe Siu may end up like Pico from my last video, a Vocaloid well loved by the community, but obviously not enough in sales for a company to keep her afloat. However, it seems all these companies really want Siu to succeed, so maybe if we're lucky, I somehow jinx this video and Siu will get like a Vocaloid 6 voice bank. I mean, that's happened before in these videos, so come on, Starlike and Yamaha. Overall, if Siu really is discontinued and is instead turned into a cutesy mascot, it's extremely sad. Although her Japanese voice bank doesn't have the best pronunciation, I fucking love Siu's voice bank and design. Also, like, there's a huge rise in K-pop since her release, so I'm surprised no one's bought CU exclusively for K-pop covers. Stardust. Also known as Xinhua in China, she's a female Mandarin Vocaloid 4 voice bank who has now received an incredible synthesizer V voice bank. However, before that, she was originally a Vocaloid and an extremely difficult one to obtain. The main issue with Stardust is that she was on the website Taobao as a physical release only. Taobao is a site similar to Wish and AliExpress, but the difference with them is that Taobao only ships to China and nowhere else. So you need an expensive as shit proxy service to forward her to you and then ship her to you. As LITTY and her crew pretty much overshadow every Mandarin Vocaloid voice bank, much like Hatsune Miku overshadows literally every voice bank ever made, it was left to international buyers to try and give Stardust some love. Unfortunately, because proxy services are expensive as shit, and it'd be fucking cheaper to live in China for a couple of months than to hire a proxy service, you can start to see where Stardust's stab and sales come in. So sometime around last year, Stardust was discontinued. The reasons are basically what I said before about how she was extremely difficult to obtain due to the website Taobao, but also received an incredible synthesizer V voice bank to everyone's absolute shock, given how low Stardust's popularity actually was. Also, is it me, or does her design look like a Honkai Impact character? There's a part of me that wants to be sad Stardust Vocaloid 4 voice bank was discontinued, but honestly, her synthesizer V voice bank is too incredible that her Vocaloid 4 voice bank honestly pales in comparison. Not only is her range a lot wider, but she can also sing in English and Korean when you purchase the pro version of synthesizer V. I do miss her Vocaloid 4 design though. She looked gorgeous and looks like she'd sing you really soft lullabies, while her synthesizer V voice bank just looks like a Honkai Impact character, I guess. And yes, all these Vocaloids have a wink wink nudge nudge way of obtaining them, but the Vocaloid community is classist as shit sometimes, and I mean it's pretty obvious there was another way of obtaining these voice banks, so... While this video doesn't have as many shocking entries as my first Discontinued Vocaloids video, I hope you guys enjoyed the video anyway. I don't think I'll be able to do another video like this only because Discontinued Vocaloids is kind of a rare thing anyway, surprisingly enough. Even when they are, it's usually the previous version to another Vocaloid that sounds identical to the original anyway, like a lot of Vocaloid 4 and 3 voice banks. Let me know down below what you guys think though. Did you know about any of these Vocaloids in this video, or was it pretty surprising? As always, let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!